This brand sells some of the most boring products possible. So when they tried to scale their sales funnel, it didn't work. But when they fixed just a few small things that anyone can do, sales just took off. You don't need a new product, you don't need a new market, you don't need a new brand. You just need to do a few simple things that can be boiled down into 9 words. And let me show you what that looks like. So let's talk about something that's undeniably true and so obvious, yet we all screw up, and makes like the biggest difference between scaling very easily versus making scaling extremely hard. And this is what I call, first to start off, the pre-scale criteria. So this is before we even get into growing the business, because these are a few decisions you have to make early on that determine a lot of your success later on. So what do most of us do when we're choosing what to sell? We go after these tiny little markets. That's what everyone was taught. Find a tiny little niche and that's where the riches are. I believe it's the opposite. The niches are where you go broke. And so instead of going after some tiny little niche, what you want to do instead is go after a place where you can scale and expand with just one product. The best businesses today take a single product that can appeal to a lot of different people, because then it doesn't require every time you want to grow your business that you have to start back from zero with a brand new product, a brand new market, brand new marketing, brand new training for all your team. You take one product and expand it as wide as possible. And the cool thing is you likely already have a product today that you sell right now that you're not tapping out the full potential for. There's a bigger market for almost any product. Like in our business selling coffee, we started off just as low acid coffee for people that were like 60 plus and coffee jacked up their stomach. But we've been able to expand that market because our goal is to build the healthiest coffee possible. And everyone wants more health, and something like 64% of adults drink coffee. So we start with a big market, but a niche appeal, low acid coffee that's good for your stomach, specifically for older people. But then within that, we keep expanding bigger and bigger and bigger. For example, like dude wipes. They started as just 4 dudes in college who wanted basically bathroom wipes for guys. But it really started off just for people that were kind of like 20 something in college. But now it's literally half of the world, basically just all guys who want their products. So that's your goal. So pre-scale criteria number 1 is a big market. This is the first step you want to do when thinking about scaling your business as quickly as possible. But there's one final decision that makes winning in even a big market nearly impossible if we get wrong. And all the best businesses in the world, all the ones that you love, get this part right. So I remember when I was first scaling one of my e-commerce businesses, I was selling these natural weight loss supplements that would just blow up on the Dr. Oz show. This was back in like 2010 to 2012, and these products would just explode. So I would go and private label my own version. These products weren't hurting anybody, but I don't think they were doing anybody any good either. So it made selling them very hard for me. And so won't it be so much easier if you sell a product that you would actually buy yourself if you were in the consumer shoes? This was a rule from the late billionaire Charlie Munger, who said only sell a product that you would buy yourself. Now you may not be in the specific market, but if you knew all the facts, all the dirty details about the product, would you actually buy that product? Would you recommend that product that your parent buy, that your kid buy, that your sister buy? If not, sell something else. Or more than likely, improve it every time. I once met this guy who was doing about $2 million a month only on Amazon, selling basically generic products, but they were his own. But he didn't really worry about branding or any of that kind of stuff. And I was like, how are you doing $2 million a month with these products where you don't care about branding? He says, all I do is I improve the product every single reorder. So that's an important thing for you to do before you start worrying about everything else, because eventually the best product wins. In the short term, you can do really well with good marketing, which we're about to get into right now, but long term, your life is going to be so much easier if you sell a good product. And like I said, this stuff is so obvious, but a lot of times we get it wrong. We get so excited about the marketing, but we forget that there's a customer on the other end who's going to have an experience with the product. That experience determines whether they come back and buy from you again. It determines whether they give you positive reviews. It determines whether they comment positively on your Facebook ads, which is the best place to get traffic right now. So this determines so much about your business. So once you get these 2 things right, you're ready to start scaling. So now that you're selling in a big market and you're selling a high quality product, we need to do one thing that gets customers to spend 300 to 400% more upfront, because that makes all the difference in scaling today. So a lot of times when I'm working with like an Amazon seller who may be crushing it, like I'm literally working with one that's doing $30 million a year on Amazon and they want help scaling outside of Amazon. But the Amazon mindset, and the mindset for a lot of people, even in a lot of different businesses, even outside of e-commerce, is like, oh, if I could just get customers to buy one thing, like life is amazing. The problem is today is that you're competing against not just people looking for that kind of product, because the best way to get customers today is on massive social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whether it's paid advertising or organic content. Either way, you're putting the same piece of content out into this sea with everyone else. And so you have to be able to win against every type of business, not just your type of business. And so the way you do that is you get customers to buy more upfront. The first easiest way to get customers to buy more upfront is just raise your prices. If you're selling a discount product at a discount price, that's one style of business. That's not the style of business for most people. It can work totally fine, but in most cases, most people who have scaled really big, especially online with a smaller team, are building premium brands. And so you've got price flexibility there. As long as you can tell a good story, you sell a high quality product, you can appeal to a certain subset of customers, you can usually justify raising your prices and charging a premium. This is what a lot of the biggest brands on the planet have done, like Nike, for example. They charged a premium price for t-shirts, tennis shoes, and everything else. That allowed them to have extra profit that they could reinvest into massive marketing, such as hiring Michael Jordan and stuff like that, and spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on that. And that marketing reinforced their premium branding and allowed them to charge even more. So that's the model most of us should follow. So long story short, try to first raise your prices. Second, I have a rule that's never let a customer buy just one. I don't care if you're selling mattresses or t-shirts or whatever, get customers to buy multiple units up front. The best way to typically do that is just with basic multi-unit packs. So True Classic Tees, they do hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They're fantastic at this. If you go to some of their home pages or catalog pages, you'll notice that they're selling packs of like 9 t-shirts at a time, where most other brands who haven't scaled anywhere near as big as them or as fast as them, they're selling just single t-shirts at a time. And that's why they don't win and why True Classic kills everybody, because they're willing to get customers to buy more up front. So one option is to literally offer multi-packs. This is what we do with our coffee. Usually we offer a 1 bag, a 3 bag, and a 6 bag with increasing discounts as people buy more. Sometimes we literally just get rid of the 1 bag option. You can either buy 3 bags or you can buy 6 bags. And that's worked fantastic for us. Though I would start with a more standard format of just kind of like 1, 3, 6 with discounts that get a little bigger each time. And you'd be surprised. Like I'm working with another team who's selling an automotive product that you wouldn't really think people would be willing to buy multiple of these up front because they're over $100 each. Their average order value is 2 units, actually 2+ units. And so I would challenge you to start with getting people to buy multiple units. The other variation of this, depending on your market, like I worked with one guy who's doing skincare, for example, rather than selling multiple units of the same product, he would do bundle options. So rather than like 1 eye cream, 3 eye cream, 6 eye cream, it would be like 1 would be an eye cream, the next bundle would be like an eye cream plus a moisturizer, and the last bundle would be like eye cream, moisturizer, sunscreen, for example. So that can work totally fine. The main rule here is to remember is never let a customer buy just one. The real holy grail, if it fits with your business, which doesn't have to fit with every business, but is getting customers on an automatic subscription. So a lot of businesses that have grown extremely fast, such as Athletic Greens, even the vitamin gummy brand Grooms, some coffee brands, they grew not by necessarily getting people to buy a ton of units up front, but by only offering, in some cases, a subscription plan, which is kind of a default way of getting people to buy multiple up front, because when you sign people up for a subscription, they're basically automatically going to be charged, for example, a month later until they cancel. So it's another way of locking people into multiple units up front. Now, you don't have to force subscription into your business if it doesn't fit. It's totally fine to build a business that just makes a ton of money up front and you don't have subscription. Like that works great as well. But if subscription does fit in your business, that's another alternative to selling a bunch of multiple units. So you've got to get this piece right of getting customers to buy more up front, because that's the first and most critical step to being able to rapidly scale your business. The entire process of scaling a business comes down to just 9 words. So make more money per visitor than all your competitors. If you do this, you will win in any market, because traffic has become so commoditized at this point because we all get traffic from the same places. Meta has 3.9 billion people on its platforms that you can reach, which is why people love to talk about all these other platforms such as TikTok and YouTube and everything else. But the 800-pound gorilla that runs almost every massive business, especially e-commerce and direct-to-consumer businesses, but even a lot of the other ones, is all just one platform. And so, but you're competing against everyone else. So if you can make more money per visitor than all your competitors, you will win on that platform because all the traffic is going to flow to you because you can afford to spend more to get customers to your website and to buy your products. If you're scaling a 6, 7, or 8-figure business, I've put together a basic blueprint of this that shows you how to optimize your entire business based on this formula, what I call visitor value. And so if you want that for free, click the link below. The first thing you have to do to apply this in your business, to show you what this formula looks like, that once again I call visitor value, is you can't settle for just how much money you get up front. So we just talked about how you optimize based on pricing and bundling to get customers to buy more. But that's not the end of the story, because you're competing against everybody today, not just people in your own market, and especially not people just looking for your own brand. And so you need to get customers to buy more upfront. So the second part of this formula is lifetime value, or LTV. And so this is basically squeezing every last dollar out of every single customer you ethically can, because even if you do a great job of following up with customers, you sell a great product, a repeat purchase rate is like 25%. That means 75% of people are never coming back, even if you sell something good. So all the money you make off of those customers comes just on the first order. And so you have to get your lifetime value up as high as possible. And a big component of that is average order value, or AOV, which is basically how much money you make per order. The easiest way to increase average order value, beyond the stuff we've already talked about, is to add pre- and post-purchase upsells. So a pre-purchase upsell, like we do on our page when we're selling coffee, is somebody, we try to get them to buy a multi-pack, we try to raise our prices, all those good things we've talked about. But then when somebody says, I want to buy 3 bags, we don't just send them straight to checkout and have them start entering their credit card. We say, hey, you already want to buy 3 bags? Why don't you buy 3 more bags? And this is before they even start checking out. And so in some cases, if they're buying 1 bag, we'll ask them to buy 1 more bag. If they're buying 3 bags, we'll ask them to buy 3 more bags, and so forth. And some people may end up adding 12 bags to their cart, which may sound crazy, but this is Costco's entire business model. I went to Costco and we were just doing some shopping one time. And if you wanted to buy a loaf of bread, of a kind of Dave's bread, a little nicer bread, it was like you couldn't buy just 1. You had to buy 3 loaves of bread. And so we didn't buy that because we don't eat that much bread, but that's how this whole business works. And so it's okay to ask customers to buy more upfront. If you sell a good high quality product, if you know they're gonna use it, there's no problem with that. And so we had pre-purchase upsells, which are just asking customers to buy more upfront. 9 times out of 10, your best option for that is just more of what they already bought. You don't have to get too creative or like what this customer is gonna buy next. Just sell them more of the thing you're already offering. In most cases, that's gonna outperform anything else, any sort of complementary product. So don't overthink this. Just start by selling them more of what they already bought. If they wanna buy medium roast ground coffee from us, we ask them if they wanna buy additional medium roast ground coffee. And we may test other stuff later, but that's the whole game. And so add pre-purchase upsells that happen before they actually enter their credit card and finish checking out. Then you go one step further and you add post-purchase upsells, which are after they've entered their credit card. And the beauty about these is that first purchase is already locked in. It's done. They've entered their credit card. That purchase is not going away. So you don't have to worry about losing that. But post-purchase, we just offer more of the same thing. So it doesn't matter if they if they bought 3 bags up front, we pre-purchased another 3 bags. Post-purchase, we're gonna say, do you wanna buy another 3 bags? And believe it or not, people will buy a ton of coffee that way, and it's totally fine. Because the good thing about post-purchase upsells, because they're non-public and they're built into the software you're using for this, is that you can ethically offer them the best deal in your entire store. And that's what we do. And we tell them it's the best deal in our entire store because it's not public. You can't get it anywhere else. But if you're selling a physical product, the incremental shipping cost of sending an extra few units is very tiny. So you can offer a really good deal and it can still be very profitable for you. So we do this all day long. So add pre-purchase and post-purchase upsell, and that's what's gonna give you a higher lifetime value and higher average order value than all of your competitors, and is what's gonna allow you to scale extremely fast. So even if you have the highest average order value and highest lifetime value on the planet, if you don't get the other half of the visitor value formula nailed down, you're never gonna be able to scale. So what you need to do is you need to think less like a marketer and more just like a regular salesperson. And so anytime you create any sort of page to sell something, you need to first design it with these few points in mind. So the first thing, and I call this the invisible persona sales page, because at this stage, you're not targeting a specific type of buyer, which we're going to talk about in the next step. But for now, you're just creating a page that can appeal to as many people as possible. So the first thing you have to include on there, and you wouldn't believe how many times I see people missing this, is to answer the question of what's in it for me. They don't care about your brand. They don't care about your story. They don't care how hard you've worked to build the business. They don't even care about your product. All they care about is what is this going to do for them. If you're doing a more information style page, then you need the information to be attractive and appealing to them. If you're just going straight after the sale, you need to make your product's promise appealing to them. So the first thing you have to answer, usually in the headline, is what's in it for me? What is the biggest possible honest benefit you can place in your headline? And the best brands do this all the time. They'll tell people specifically what this product is going to do for them that they can ethically and legally say, and they put that directly in the headline. So your headline and the top section of your page in general should answer that question without any doubt whatsoever. The next thing you want to include, which is kind of just an expansion on what's in it for me, are the specific benefits. And this is super basic, but you need to write down every possible thing that this product is going to do for people. Is it going to save them time? Is it going to make them healthier? Is it going to make their hair look better? Is it going to make their skin look better? Is it going to make them feel happier, more fulfilled, depending on your product? What are all the possible things that your product is going to do for them? Map out every single one of those. And then here's the key that most people get wrong. You back those up, not just with blanket statements, but with facts. So one of the greatest copywriters and advertisers that's ever lived, David Ogilvy, he wrote some of the best ads for massive brands like Rolls-Royce, literally just doing research and telling people about the specific facts about the product. Because nobody believes your benefits. They don't really believe your what's in it for me. They want to, though, until you give them specific, tangible pieces of information that make these things seem more true. So for example, like with our coffee business, we'll tell them the exact pH level. If we say our product is low acidity, and a lot of times we'll tell them the exact pH level, we'll tell them exactly how it's grown, where it's grown. We'll tell them the specific 450 toxins that we test for. We don't just say, hey, toxin tested. We say 450 toxins, and some of our newer pages, we'll tell them exactly which ones we test for. And so the more specific you can be, the more believable your claims are going to be. But that doesn't end there. The next piece of making them actually believe all this stuff is overwhelming proof. You almost cannot have enough proof on your page in form of written testimonials, standard star ratings like you would see on Amazon and most product pages, video testimonials, customers holding the product, so with actual photos of the customers. And if you can make those more believable by including the customer's full name, or ideally just first name and last initial maybe, and their location, their city, state, any of that kind of information, it's also going to make it more believable so people don't think that you just pulled fake people's photos off the internet. And so also including any sort of authority figures, whether it's somebody in your business or somebody outside of your business, any sort of media mentions or awards you've won, an overwhelming amount of proof, because you have to overcome people's natural resistance from being sold everything on the planet. But we naturally want to improve our lives. So if you tell people this product will improve your life in some dimension that they care about, they want to believe. But you got to give them specific facts, and you got to give them overwhelming proof that your product can actually deliver on those. Then the last thing you want to include is a risk eliminating guarantee. And this doesn't just mean a standard 30-day guarantee in most cases, though that's a good starting point. Like I was working with some guys that basically are selling an automotive product that's kind of only going to be used if your car breaks down. And so we talked about a guarantee that they can add, and one guarantee is like, hey, if your car breaks down and this product doesn't work, then we'll cover the cost of getting your car towed. That's a guarantee with some more meat on there. And so you think about the actual risks, because you're saying all this stuff, like here's what this product's going to do for you, here's all these people that have said it's going to do it, but then you're asking the customer to take all the risk on their shoulders. Like, hey, we say it's going to do all this stuff, but then buy our product and just trust us. Instead, think about those specific risks you're asking the customer to take. One is to use your product, to waste their time and spend their money. And how can you cover one or ideally all of those with a risk eliminating, not risk reducing, risk eliminating guarantee that puts all the risk back on your shoulders, which is why this comes back to selling a good, high quality product. Because if you're not selling a good product, you're gonna get burned. If you are selling a good product, pretty much 100% of the time, this is gonna be in your favor. You're gonna get more sales than you lose in refunds you have to give because people want to take you up on the guarantee if you're selling a good product. So all of this comes back to the first part of this formula, which is conversion rate. So the entire visitor value formula is conversion rate times lifetime value. So we talked a lot about lifetime value and average order value. Conversion rate is just how many people placed an order relative to how many people visited your website or your sales page. And so the way you increase conversion rate is you add these 5 things. Once you've done both of these, you will make more money per visitor than all of your competitors. So what I just showed you was revolutionary enough as far as increasing conversion rate to win maybe 5 years ago. But today, there's one additional step you need to add on top of what we just talked about that's gonna allow you to scale on just about any platform, but especially the biggest platforms on the planet, like Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram advertising. And so what you need to do is you need to create persona-based landing pages. And so that's why I call this the invisible persona page, because you're basically creating a page that can appeal to anybody. But the best brands on the planet now are using ads to find different potential buyer groups, but then they take the same exact page and they basically just duplicate it and then only change 20% of it. They change the headline. So instead of it being, specific benefit for anybody, it's a specific benefit for a specific type of buyer. Because your ads are gonna be naturally speaking to those things. For example, like there's a great brand that I'll be doing another video on, which is called Grooms. And so they just sold for $1 billion. A big part of their advertising strategy is they found a bunch of different possible buyer groups. This is GLP-1 users, people that just want daily nutrition, people perimenopause, and they basically created ads targeted to those things, but they took their main page, as I'm calling kind of like the invisible persona page. They took that main page, duplicated it, and they would literally just change the headline, a few testimonials, and a few bullet points. That was it. But that's what allows you to scale today, because Facebook and these other platforms will find you any buyer you want. And the kind of general saying now is creative is the targeting. So back in the day, you would have to slice and dice audiences, but now you don't have to do any of that. Now all you have to do is say, if you create an ad that's like, hey, GLP-1 users, here's how to get some better nutrition or something, or are you having hair loss or muscle loss or any of these other possible issues with GLP-1, Facebook will go out and find you those people. And then all you need to do is to do this one last step, which is to create a simple copy of your page that's already been well optimized based on what we talked about, and just speak to that individual person. And it's not a whole new page in the sense of you're rewriting everything, but it's just about 20% of it. Headline, a few bullet points, a few testimonials, and you're done. You do that, that's what's gonna allow you to crush everyone in your market and even in the other markets that are competing with you for the same eyeballs on these massive platforms. So by this point, you've got sales coming in, you've got data coming in, and it's so easy to get lost in the hundreds of marketing acronyms and possible metrics and formulas and dashboards and all this other kind of stuff you can use. I'm here to tell you that there's literally just one formula or one ratio that can help you scale your business, and you need basically nothing else. This is what all the best brands today use. So I want to give you an example. So imagine that I come to you and I'm an idiot and I'm like, hey, if you give me $1, I'll give you $3 in 18 months from now. And there's no strings attached, you're 100% confident that I'm gonna pay, so there's no risk there. How many dollars would you give me? You'd give me all of them. Because if you can turn $1 into $3 in 18 months, that's gonna beat, and it's 100% guaranteed and risk-free, that's gonna beat every other investment on the planet pretty much, unless you just get lucky. But nothing else is gonna be risk-free that's gonna give you that level of return. So that's all you have to do when it comes to scaling a business today, is think of what does it cost for me to get an order today or a customer today, and how much do I make off of those customers over some certain period of time. And so the best businesses, the more established businesses, are looking at like a 3-year time window. Us, when we were first scaling, we basically needed to break even in month 2. So if we spent $1 today, we needed to make at least $1 in profit off of those customers by the second month, because we weren't putting more of our own money in. We didn't want to do debt or equity financing or any of that sort of stuff. So we basically had to make money very early on to be able to scale the business. Now, that we have a more established company, we basically are willing to say spend $1 today, and as long as we can make $1 in profit to basically recoup our costs over the first year, then we're going to be willing to acquire as many customers as possible. And so our typical cost to acquire a customer now is like $100. And so we make around $100 in gross profit per customer over the first year. And so as long as we can stay within that limit, we keep acquiring customers all day long. So this all gets broken down into a simple ratio, which is customer acquisition cost, or CAC. You'll hear a lot of people say CAC, customer acquisition cost, which is basically if you were to say, I spent $1,000 on ads and I got 10 new customers, then you have a $100 customer acquisition cost. How much did you spend on ads? How many new buyers did you get? That's your customer acquisition cost. Then you compare that to your lifetime value, which is we got X number of customers over whatever time period, and I recommend looking at this on like a 3-month, 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year basis. How much money on average did those customers give to you over that time period? And the best way to look at this is you can look at it on a revenue basis, but also look at it on a gross profit basis. We have about a 50% gross profit margin. So our 12-month lifetime value on a revenue basis is around $200. That means we make about $100 in gross profit because it's 50% of that. So that's our 12-month lifetime value on a gross profit basis. All you're doing to scale your business is to compare these numbers. If you can get customers for less than your lifetime value, based on whatever target you're looking at, then you keep scaling and keep spending money. Nothing else matters in your business. Just that one ratio is all you need to scale your sales incredibly fast. And this is not just, smaller businesses or 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. These are the biggest, smartest businesses on the planet, doing hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases $1 billion in sales, that they run their business based on this one North Star formula. So that means it's good enough for us as well. So we covered the exact formula and process for scaling a business today, but what we didn't do is go super deep onto exactly how to create ads. The good thing is there's really only 2 types of ads you need to scale any business in any market with any product on any platform. And they're super easy to create now with AI. So watch this video next to learn exactly how.